We continue our reading of Lest We Forget, a daily devotional by author George R. Knight. Today's reading, February 2, Reformer on the Loose. Let us search and try our ways and turn again to the Lord. Lamentations 3:40. Bates, on his last voyage, the one after he was converted, believed his duty was not only to convert his crew to Christianity, to make sure they behaved like Christians, even before they actually became such. Thus, at sunset on August 9, 1827, the day they departed port, he assembled his crew and stated the rules and regulations that would govern the voyage. It must have been a shock to the rough seafaring men who stood before him. Not only were they to give up swearing, but they were to show respect for one another by using their proper names rather than nicknames. Much more radical was the rule that they would have no shore leave on Sunday while in port. Rather, proclaimed the captain, we shall observe the Sabbath on board ship. The crew mostly sat in stunned silence to the proclamations. Some voiced contrary opinions, but what were they to do after all? They were already out to sea on a journey that would probably take some 18 months. But the real bomb hadn't yet dropped. The Empress, Bates announced, would be a temperance ship. There would be no liquor or intoxicating drinks on board, and if he could, he would persuade them never to drink at all, even when on shore. At that point, Bates knelt and dedicated himself and his crew to God. Such was the atmosphere of what must have been a strange voyage for the crew. We don't know all their feelings, but one of the crew exclaimed that they were off to a very good beginning, and at least one held that it was a very bad beginning. On that voyage, Bates began to get a better understanding of the Sabbath. The voyage witnessed his reading at least twice Seth Williams's 5 discourses on the Sabbath. On the first reading, Bates declared that he did not know that the Bible had so much to say about the topic. Of course, he noted it was altered to the first day of the week, as a remembrance that on that day our Savior arose triumphantly from the grave. A few weeks later, he wrote that the more I read and reflect on this holy day, Sunday, the more I am convinced of the necessity of keeping it entirely holy. Christianity made a difference in Bates's life. It changed every part of it, and so it must, if we have found Christ as both Savior and Lord. To follow in his steps is to lead a life radically different from that of the world around us. This concludes our reading today of Lest We Forget.